Hello, wonderful people. A very good morning to you. How are you doing today? I hope your day is well. This is the Breakfast Show, and I am your host, Lillian Thomas. How are you doing? Honestly, how have you been? How was the weekend for you? It is a new week. We are starting on a new week, and we are planning on doing our activities during this week. So, what have you planned out? It is Monday. We plan everything on Monday, right? How have you planned your week? What are you intending to do? Okay, we are live right here on Farmers on Facebook and on YouTube. We are at Farmers Media. So if you are joining us for the first time, kindly, it is a new week. You can be kind enough to follow our pages. Follow us on Facebook at Farmers. On YouTube, we are at Farmers Media. So make sure that you are subscribing to our page and you can as well hit the notification bell. You see on that right side, hapo juu tu, there's a kabel hapo juu. Just hit it. Hit it, and then every time we are going live or anytime we upload a video, you will be notified. And since I know you are fantastic people and you love our farmers, I know you'll do that, right? Okay? If you have not subscribed to our page, kindly please do. We will appreciate if you do. And even, you see, this is what we do here. We have discussions with you. At our farmers, we aim at helping you attain knowledge so that you can gain your profits, okay? We are the home of African farmers. So we want to share this knowledge to anyone who might need it, who might use it at some point, who it might be helpful to. So you can help share the link. Help share the link everywhere. You can share it to your friends, your colleagues, your family members. You never know who needs the information. So please keep sharing it, and we'll be glad if you do. I didn't know how your weekend was. I didn't know how your weekend was, but my weekend was fantastic. It was fantastic. By fantastic, I mean I had some really great moments. I hope you really had the same, but I didn't know, especially if you are in Kenya. Were you caught up in the madness that happened on Saturday night? Okay, you are? You weren't? All right. We told you, and we've always repeated this. We've always repeated this. We have COVID around. We still have COVID around, and the government has put precautionary measures for us. So we have the curfew that starts at 8 p.m., okay? We have the lockdown, the cessation of movement in these five counties: Nairobi, Machakos, Kiambu, Nakuru, and Kajiado. It is just okay if you are found in the house by 8 o'clock, okay? And whatever happened on Saturday night, it is a topic of discussion that I don't want to get into, but it can be avoided if you really do what the government requires us to do, okay? So make sure that you are putting on your mask, make sure that you are sanitizing your hands and you're washing your hands regularly. Above all, keep social distance. And if you have no business getting outside, stay indoors. It's just as easy as that. Me and you are here today because we chose to follow these guidelines, okay? We are here because we choose to wear our masks. We are here because we choose to sanitize. We are here because we choose to wash our hands. We are here because we choose to keep social distance. Do that, do that. We still need you around. We still need you around. We need everyone to be productive. And we don't want to be rubbing shoulders with the government and the policemen and the health officers. It's too much. It's too much going on. So if you can be kind enough, can you just stay at home? Keep social distance, wear your mask. It is very important that you do so, okay? So it is on a Monday. I love Mondays. I always say I love Mondays. And right here at our Farmers on the Breakfast Show, you know what we do. On Monday, it is Inspirational Monday for us, okay? We choose to inspire you so that you can get your week moving in a very fantastic and awesome way, because I said you are fantastic people. If you are watching me, of course you are a fantastic person, or why else would you be here? If you're not a fantastic person, you are a fantastic person. So this is what we will be doing. The inspirational piece will be coming later on towards the end of the show. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. But for a start though, I'd like to start with the quote of the day. The quote of the day can keep you moving until we get our inspirational piece towards the end of the show. And our quote of the day today says, the thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. The thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. That is my quote for the day. That is what I choose to start with on this Monday. That's what I choose that you should be knowing today. So, the thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. It is a matter of positivity and negativity. If you have positive thoughts in the morning, you are most likely to remain positive all through the day. So, meaning you might be as very productive as you can be because you're a very positive person. If you choose to have negative thoughts in the morning, you know what that can do to you. You can be a very grumpy person during the day, very moody. You don't want to do that to yourself on a Monday. It is on a Monday. You are not supposed to be doing that to yourself on a Monday. Okay? So choose your thoughts very wisely, very wisely. If you really need your day to get moving, your week to start on a high note. Monday is the first day of the week. Make sure it starts on a very good note. Make sure it starts on a very good note. So currently, we are back to matters discussion. Currently, we have the long rains ongoing in majority part of Africa, right? Which is a very good thing because a larger percentage of Africa actually relies on rain-fed agriculture. So the moment we are having rains, yay, it's a win for us because we can plant our crops and we can always do our farm activities because when we started in April, people had already started planting. So I am very sure people are very positive about the rains right now, okay? And we love the rains because they help us achieve what we need to achieve. But there's always a flip side to these rains. The rains can get to a point and they just vanish, and we really have like a complete shortage of the rains. When we have a complete shortage of the rains, we will be having something we call drought, okay? Or it can go on the other side of the flip side, and the rains are too much. They are actually more than what we need, and it can always happen. And when they do that, we might be experiencing floods in the continent or maybe in the region that you are in. Let's keep in mind that in the past, like 3 decades, our climate has really shifted. This is a discussion we've had in the past. Was it like a week ago? Not last Friday, the other Friday when we did something about climate smart agriculture? Yes, our climate has really shifted and we tend to have extreme conditions. So we might be having rains and then have extremes of the rains, okay? So extremes of the like getting into floods, or extremes of this other side and we're getting into drought. We might be having like normal temperatures and then they get to the extreme. They are very hot to an extent that they are not good for us, okay? This flip side, so we've given an instance of the rains that we have currently. So they can go to this other side and we have floods, or come to this other side and we have droughts. And how does this, when this happens, especially right now in Africa, now that a majority part of Africa relies on agriculture as the main economic activity that we practice. When we have these extreme of the conditions, so when we go to this side of floods or this side of drought, and these things are happening, how do they affect our agricultural production? That is the discussion we'll be having right here. Today, we are going to be talking about disasters in agriculture. That is our topic today, disasters in agriculture. And then we'll be looking into more details on the impact that the disasters have on the agricultural production. Okay? Agriculture is the backbone of most developing countries. A majority part of Africa, again, is in the are developing countries, okay? A majority part of African countries, Latin America, we are in the developing countries. And us guys rely on agriculture specifically for our production and everything. And we depend on rain fed agriculture. When you look at the world's total GDP, agriculture contributes like 25%. 25% is huge. 25% is huge. So we have to be having the very good conditions, the very right conditions that we need for our agricultural production. If we are to attain the 25% that we always give to the GDP, okay? We need like optimum rainfall. So there's nothing like shortage or too much of the rainfall. Because when we do that, it will be affecting our activities. And sometimes we have recorded in history, sometimes it just happens like out of nowhere. You are seated down, and out of nowhere, boom, the country is experiencing floods. What do? You are seated, and then boom, the country is experiencing drought. What do you do? How does it affect the agricultural production that we have around? In most times, when we experience droughts and floods, they tend to actually call it a disaster. They call it a disaster. So, what is a disaster? What do you think a disaster is? What is a disaster? So, a disaster is something that my interpretation of a disaster, it's something that happens suddenly, and when it happens suddenly, it affects how the community works. Okay? Affects how the community functions. So it's like sudden. It's not like something you really had too much time to prepare for. It just happens, boom, and it is here. So more specifically, what are disasters in agriculture? Like what are agricultural disasters? Because I believe agriculture actually relies on the environment a lot. We interact with the environment a lot, and we rely on natural resources for production. Okay, so any alterations in the environment can actually impact us. So for me, agricultural disaster is a sudden change in the environment, and then it affects the agricultural production that we have. So this sudden change can be something like experiencing high temperatures, okay, experiencing drought, experiencing floods. Recently, we have had the invasion of locusts in major parts of the world, okay? All these are things we'd consider as a disaster because we would sleep and all of a sudden we wake up and we are like, the country has been invaded by desert locusts. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? And they affect the activities that we have running day in, day out. They affect a lot, a lot, a lot. Last year we had a locust invasion in Kenya, and farmers kept complaining and complaining and complaining. And it wasn't only in Kenya, in several other countries we had it. In the previous years, we've had drought in several countries. Moso Kenya is very common with droughts. Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, like we experience drought a lot. Okay. We've had floods being recorded in the past years, and all these things are things we'd label as disasters. And they affect how our agricultural industry works. They affect the activities in the agricultural production. This is the discussion we want to have. And you know why I'm having this discussion, Kwanza? Recently, it was on Friday, on Friday night. On Friday night, when I was watching the news, there was a warning. The Kenya Red Cross Society and the Kenya Meteorological Department actually gave us a warning. Right now, we have rains in Kenya. The long rains are happening everywhere in the country. But then Kenya Red Cross Society and the Kenya Meteorological Department comes and says, um, we might, it was a warning, we might experience floods and drought in the country in the coming month. Okay? We might experience floods and drought in the country in the coming month. We are in April. This is a prediction supposed to be happening in May. We are less than 13 days away from May. Yes, less than 13 days away from me. And it has been predicted that we might have droughts and floods in the country. Weird, quite interesting. Now imagine, me, I'm thinking this is the scenario. We are looking at our scenario whereby we will be having two disasters happening at the same time in one country. So we have droughts, we have floods. And do you know how this functions? So they predicted that the former Western region, Rift Valley, Coast, and Central. So the sides of Bungoma, Elgeyo Marakwet, we have Nyandarua, Laikipia, all these places, we might experience floods. The rains may be too much and we might experience floods. On the flip side, the northeastern region. The northeastern region, so we are looking at Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo, Garissa, Tana River, Turkana. These places are expecting drought. They are expecting drought. The same time this other region is expecting floods, they are expecting drought. Kwanza this northeastern region, we've had cases of drought over and over again in Turkana, in Mandera, in Wajir. Let's not forget these people are pastoralists, most of them, okay? They move with their animals. So the moment there's drought, they'll keep moving. So they are on the go. As from May, they are on the go as they try to look for water for their livestock and food and all these things. And they have a very large population. So it's like 1.4 million of the population. It's 1.4 million. Their population is around 1.4 million. There's a thing with drought. If there's too much drought, there can be a risk of starvation. There can be a risk of starvation. If there is a risk of starvation, we are looking at cases whereby we might experience more deaths than normal in the country due to starvation. And see, the population we have right here is 1.4 million. So we are 1.4 million people are at a risk of starvation and death and any other consequences that come with this starvation thing. It can be displacement as they try to move and try to find somewhere better to stay in order for them to get water and food for themselves and for their livestock. On this other side of central, western, Rift Valley, we might be experiencing floods. Are these conditions conducive for agricultural production? No, they are not. If we have droughts, we don't have enough rainfall, we don't have enough water. There is no way we can do crop production without water. Especially here in Kenya, no, we can't do crop production without water. So if we don't have water, we can do crop production. So the entire northeastern region can't do any crop production. So there's no food that is going to come out of the northeastern region because the conditions aren't okay. And also remember, when we are having droughts, we tend to have really high temperatures. Mhm. Very, very high temperatures. So it is very hot. It is dry. There is no rain. The moisture content in the soil is low. So agricultural activities, zero. It is not happening. Not right now. Not anytime. Okay. On this other side, we have floods. Floods means we have too much water, okay? Too much water in the soil. So if there isn't proper drainage, our crops are not going to grow as they should, okay? Depending on the crops that you grow, they are not going to grow as you should. And don't forget, the last time we have experienced floods, they have happened to a point of actually washing away the produce. So, like, literally, we have no produce. Do you know what saddens me about this story? We have two disasters being predicted to happen in one country. On one side, we have droughts. On the other side, we have floods. In all these conditions, agricultural production can't take place, where are we supposed to be getting our food from? Where are we supposed to be getting our food from? And consider that last year from Kenya's staple food is maize. Last year, from the food that was produced, we had less maize being produced last year. A shortage of 5.5 million bags. So, meaning already we don't have enough food in storage. And then these disasters strike. And then we can't do our production as we should. What is supposed to be happening? We lack food in the country. So we have kwanza this case of people who are going to be starving, the northeastern region. So starvation, full time, big time. And then we have these floody places. Full time, big time. Production, zero. We don't have enough food. And then now we have to go to our extra level, get into our pockets and import food from outside. So disasters strike whenever and wherever they want. They do. They do. But when they do strike, how are we supposed to curb these disasters to ensure that as much as they happen, our people are protected, our crops are protected, that we might try and ensure that we still have production in these times. More so in Africa, where we tend to experience high cases of drought. Recently, high cases of floods. Recently, locust invasion. All these things are disasters. How do we handle them? How do we handle them? How do they affect our agriculture? Because I know I am talking to people in Africa. You've had cases of drought in your country. Can you let me know the time that you had a case of drought in your country? How did it how did it affect you as a country? If you are a farmer, how did it affect the agricultural production that you guys were doing? Economically, you might be in the finance field. Economically, generally, when you're looking at your country and your nation, how did it affect the economics of the country? Because it's not something that it happens and then boom, kaboom, we are okay and that's just it. That's just it. No, it doesn't. Like it has, we said a disaster is something that will happen and then it will affect how the society functions. So, for most specifically, we've talked about disasters in agriculture, which will affect the agricultural production. So, in terms of the crops, forestry, livestock, fisheries, like these things will be affected. How does it affect? How does it affect? How has it ever affected you? How has it ever affected you? I think tomorrow we will be having another discussion on what would we have done earlier because it's a preventive measure. Would we have done earlier to ensure that when this disaster strikes, we can actually mitigate it, we can handle it. Like it doesn't happen and then we are like, wa sasa sisi we are done. Hii story hatujui vile tutafanya, sisi tumeisha. Like our people are not going to survive, we don't have livestock, sisi hii story tumeisha tu chill tu sasa. It happened venye ita happen and then iishe. We don't want to get to that point and we'll be having that discussion tomorrow. But as for today, the discussion is what are the impacts of the disasters in agriculture? How does it impact the agriculture industry? I will remind you again that we are continuing the discussion on our social media platforms on Facebook at A Farmers, on YouTube we are at A Farmers Media. So make sure you are sending me your feedback on our comment section. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. How do you think the disasters affect or impact the agriculture industry? You can let me know on our Facebook page at our farmers. On YouTube we are at Affirmers Media. And even as we go on a short break, I'll remind you again our quote of the day today, which says, the thoughts you have in the morning, the thoughts you have in the morning might or will determine your day. Okay? Just have that in mind. Have that in mind even as we go on a break. And then when we come back, we are going to talk about the impacts or how necessarily the disasters affect our agricultural production. So keep sending me your feedback on Facebook. We are at our farmers. On YouTube, we are at our farmers media. I'll be sampling your feedback when we come back from the break. Okay? So just make sure you're staying tuned in for what is to come and keep the conversation going. Okay, we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Good morning once again. Thank you so much for staying right here. This is the Breakfast Show, and I am your host, Lillian Thomas. Right here at our farmers, we help you attain knowledge so that you can grow profits. Okay, as well, we are the home of African farmers. We tell you stories. We love to tell the African farmers stories, so let us know your story. Tell us, what do you do? You can just hit us on our inbox at our farmers on Facebook, and on YouTube we are at our farmers media. Our topic today has been on disasters in agriculture. More specifically, today we are looking at the impact of disasters in agriculture. Okay, that's the discussion that we're having right here. And you can keep telling me where you're watching the show from. Also, let me know what are the effects, what do you think are the impacts that disasters have on agriculture? I'll be sampling your feedback. I sure will. I always do. Okay, you can tell me, just let me know on Facebook and on YouTube at our farmers and at our farmers media. I'll be sampling them as we progress on with the show. Okay, just have the conversation going on, and we'll be getting into that as we get going on with the show. Today is Inspirational Monday, right here on the Breakfast Show. But our inspirational piece will be coming towards the end of the show. So make sure you are staying tuned in right here for that. But I will remind you again today. The quote of the day is: the thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. The thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. And as I look at these from a perspective of whether you are having positive thoughts or negative thoughts. Okay? Either you are positive in the morning or you are negative. If you are positive in the morning, you will have a positive attitude. Everything will just work out for you. But if you are negative, trust me, things will fall. They will fall. Everything will just be not okay. Everything won't be happening. So decide, choose your thoughts very well in the morning. Whether it is a good day or not a good day, can you choose to be positive? Okay, can you? Yeah, you can do that, okay? Because you are a wonderful and a fantastic person. You can do that. Choose to be positive today. Just have that in mind as we wait for the inspirational piece to be coming towards the end of the show. On our topic of discussion today, we have been looking at disasters in agriculture. Disasters in agriculture. I want us to talk about the effects that these disasters have in agriculture. So, our question of the day is, I think my director will be putting up on the screen. Our question of the day is, what are a little bit, just a little bit. What are the impacts of disasters on agriculture? What are the impacts of disasters on agriculture? Make sure you're sending me your feedback. On Facebook, we are at A Farmers. On YouTube, we are at A Farmers Media. And we'll just be discussing that on this part of the show. And we'll try to look at the solutions that we can have for the disasters that we have in agriculture industry. A quick reminder again, COVID is around. Put on your mask, sanitize your hands or wash your hands, and also, can you keep social distance? Good. Do that. We are good to go. You protect yourself, protect your family, protect your colleagues, protect your friends. We flatten the curve, okay? That will be good enough to go. So before we went on the break, we actually defined what disasters are, what agricultural disasters are. And in terms of agriculture, we say the disasters are changes that happen, sudden changes that happen in the environment, and they actually impact or affect the agricultural production. And we mentioned things like floods, drought, extreme temperatures, locust invasion, so that is in terms of pests and diseases. Yes, we mentioned all that. And I said recently, the Kenyan government, right here in Kenya, the Kenya Red Cross Society and the Kenya Meteorological Department gave us a warning that we might experience droughts and floods in the month of May. And it has like subdivided the country into two. So they said we'll have a certain part of the country experiencing floods, another certain part of the country experiencing droughts. How worse can this get, to a point where we are having two disasters happening in the same country at the same time? Tragic, tragic. So they predict that we might be having floods in the former western region, Rift Valley, Central, and Coast. On the other hand, we might be having droughts in the northeastern region. So we are talking about Mandera, Garissa, Wajir, Isiolo, Turkana, Marsabit. And as we looked into this, we said these disasters actually affect how we carry out our activities, because if we have drought, we can't actually do farming activities because we don't have water. We have less water in the soil. The moisture content in the soil is too low for our crops to grow. When we have floods on this other side, our crops can be washed away. Our crops can rot in the shamba because of too much water. So these two things actually will result to us having minimal food production, as minimal as it can get. And another quick reminder, don't forget, we said last year the country produced less maize that can't feed the whole country. We produced less maize by 5.5 million bags. Yes, 5.5 million bags of maize. We are producing less food. So, as at last year, we produced less food, meaning we don't have enough food in storage just in case of anything happening, like a disaster striking. We won't be in a very good condition because already last year we had less food being produced. And don't forget that maize is the staple food of Kenya. It is. It is. And we had less maize being produced last year. There is a prediction of a disaster striking. So, drought in northeastern, floods in these other parts of the country. The food production won't be happening as it usually happens. And then what becomes of this country? How do we move on? How do we then feed the country? We've always been talking about food security. Disaster strikes. We don't have food. Our people don't have food. What happens? Is the country food secure enough? No. Is the country actually ready to handle these disasters? Are the people prepared for that? You can never be too prepared. We say disasters are actually sudden because you're giving us a 3 weeks notice. That is so sudden. That is so sudden. If you can do something, you can do something, but not as much as you should have done. You already have a disaster happening. It is here with us. Like, this is something we are looking at happening like the next day. What do we do that? What do we do then? And the farmers, I want to think in the perspective of the farmers. How do the farmers survive through this? How is their production affected? What are the challenges that they will face at this particular moment? How do they handle them? Generally, in the economics, how is our economic going to be affected by this? How will we be affected economically? Have you heard cases of whereby we have shortage of food and then the prices hike? You are buying 2 kgs of maize flour at 140, 150? Mm-hmm. We might get to that point. And the moment the food prices increase in the country, everything else is increasing. Tough, tough, tough economic times. I want you to tell me what you think are the impacts that disasters have on agriculture. But about handling them, handling the disasters, we'll cover that tomorrow. We'll be doing disaster reduction tomorrow. So it's going to be a very, very interesting discussion. So make sure you are staying tuned for that right here. Before we get into the impacts that disasters have on agriculture, I'll just see if anyone has given me any feedback right here. Uh-huh. And then we can look at that. We can just look at that and see who is giving us feedback and see what you think. What do you guys think? So, Tony Hillary Tonista tells me you are watching. Thank you so much, Tony, for watching the show. I don't know where you're watching from. You would let me know, and you can actually give me an answer to the question of the day. What are the impacts of disasters in agriculture? Jane Ochoki also tells me she is watching. Thank you so much, Jane, for watching the show. Give us your feedback on Facebook. We are at our farmers. Kindly keep commenting in the comment section. And then I have my very good friend right here. This guy is always watching the show. Mother Mohammed. He says, Good morning from County 001. How are you doing, Mother Mohammed? Are you okay? Did you wake up well? How was your weekend? How is Coast? County 001 is Mombasa. So I am talking about disasters in agriculture. I know in Coast you've experienced floods several times. Several times. You can tell me how it actually impacts agriculture. You can let me know. And then I will remind you there's a prediction from the Kenya Red Cross Society that we might actually be experiencing floods in the coast region in May. Just have that in mind. I don't know if you are into farming, but have that in mind. Who else? Okay. I have Sylvester Atoyo who tells me, yes, Aloyo who tells me he is watching. Thank you so much, Sylvester, for watching the show. We are glad that you are here. So I want to look at a few statistics to give you insight of what we are talking about. So we've mentioned floods and droughts as the common disasters that strike us. More recently, we have the locust invasion. Okay. In Kenya, we've had several drought instances ever. Actually, in 2017, we declared it as a national disaster. 2017 was 4 years ago. We declared drought as a national disaster. In 2017, that same year, in Kenya, we had like 23 out of 47 countries being affected. So that's like half the country was drought stricken. And what is worse, our neighboring countries in Ethiopia and Somalia were also experiencing drought. We actually have a very high prevalence, especially Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia. We have a very high prevalence of 6 to 7 droughts happening ever in like all the years that we keep doing our farming activities. So in this particular time, we were recording a very big number of the counties being affected by drought. 23 out of 47 is a lot. That is like half the country being affected by drought. And it was a national disaster then. And then we have statistics given to us by FAO, doing a very amazing work. FAO gives us a record. So the record that they took between 2005 and 2015 records that we lost 700,000 people due to drought. Between 2005 and 2015, we lost 700,000 people due to droughts. And these droughts, we actually recorded 84 droughts in 30 different countries between this period. The prevalence is very high recently. I said in the last 3 decades, the prevalence has been going high, day in, day out. Okay. And between this same period, 23 million people were actually rendered homeless in the process. Think of the pastoralist communities who are always moving as they try to find a water and food for their livestock. 23 million people rendered homeless, 700,000 people dead. And then we have 84 droughts occurring in 30 countries within 10 years. So that is 2005 and 2015, meaning it is very common. It is very common. Recently, it is happening a lot. The economic loss is estimated at 1.3 trillion US dollars. That is a lot? Yes, it is a lot. And the economic loss in these 10 years, $1.3 trillion dollars in the 10 years. That is a lot. The problem that we have in Kenya for us and the droughts, remember that we have 83% of Kenya under the arid and semi arid lands. So we just have like 17% on this other side. 83% is under arid and semi arid lands. These places receive low rainfall, high temperatures, not very good conditions. So the moment they go to the extreme, we have drought. Now imagine 83% drought of the country is in drought. That is a lot. In these 83%, we have like 1.4 million people who live there. So anytime we are having droughts in the country, we have 1.4 million people at a risk of starving. 1.4 million people. That is what we are looking at. Let it come next month. And it so happens that whatever the Kenya Meteorological Department has predicted actually happens to be true. It's not like it's a lie. It actually comes to happen because it's a prediction. It actually happens to pass. We have 1.4 million at a risk of starvation. Every time the disasters strike, every time floods happen, every time drought happens, every time there is locust invasion in a country, it has been found out that the agriculture industry absorbs 23% of the losses that happen due to these disasters. So that is like a quarter of the losses are on one industry, agriculture industry. Meaning we are affected a lot by the disasters that happen. And it's mainly because we rely on the environment for production and everything else. So we are going to look at the effects of disasters on agriculture, and they are very common things that you know. Very common things that you know. And the first one, we will be talking about the production cycle of the crops. The moment a disaster strike, let's say floods come or a drought happens, the production cycle of the crops is usually affected. If we were planting crops, especially for, let's say for floods, we had planted and then floods come. The production cycle is only complete when we get to harvesting. So from preparing the field, planting, it grows, it flowers, all these things happen until harvesting. That is a complete production cycle. If we don't get to the end of it, the production cycle is affected. If we have droughts happening and then our crops are washed away, we never get to harvest, the production cycle is affected. If droughts happen and the crops do not grow due to lack of moisture, or they take a longer time to grow because of the water strain that they have, the production cycle is affected. In areas where you'd find the growth of maize is supposed to be taking like 90 days, and then we are going past 120 days and still we have the yields being very low because of the scarcity of water, the production cycle is affected. What about the people who live in these places? What about the people who live in these places? The livelihoods of these people are always affected. I gave you an instance of the pastoralists communities that we have. These communities, the moment they have droughts, they need to find water and food for themselves and their livestock. So they keep moving. They will never have a constant place to stay. They will just keep moving and moving and moving. The moment we have floods, we have seen cases of floods, especially more specifically, which example do I use? Budalangi, Budalangi and Nyando, the Nyando region in Nyanza. These places tend to flood a lot. And every time the places flood, people have to move to go to higher grounds whereby there are no floods. Sawa. You have to move from this region to the next region to ensure that you are in a place where there are no floods. And this affects you. It kind of displaces you. And we've seen several cases of actually people who even become homeless in the process. Like everything gets carried away by the floods, and then you have nothing. You have nothing left. Your house was carried away, everything you owned in that house was carried away, and then you're just left. Just like that. Just like that. You have nowhere to stay. So these disasters, they tend to affect us a lot, especially now for people. I'm talking about people like who are doing farming activities. It is flooding or there are droughts, and you can't continue with your normal production as you are used to. What do you do? What do you do? Because you can't do your normal activities, and maybe you rely on agriculture in order for you to get something to put food on your table. It is like your major economic activity, and then you can't do it. How do you then survive? How do you then live? Like, your means of getting something are done. And then you have to find something else that you can do in order for you to actually remain productive, and in order for you to, especially with these economic times, for you to survive, you need to be doing something. If agriculture now is disrupted and you can't do anything, and that's what you rely on, it becomes really hard for you. We said when we started, agriculture contributes 25% of the world's GDP. The moment agriculture is affected, the moment it is affected, its contribution to the economy is going down. So it slows down the economic growth of the country, of the region, of the world. Everything is slowed down. Everything is slowed down. And then we have several things that tend to happen, especially when we have these disasters striking. When floods strike, there's a high prevalence of cholera and malaria cases. They happen a lot. They happen a lot. People are more susceptible to getting cholera and malaria. During droughts, a lot of pests and diseases, you see, like the locust pests, the desert locusts, they thrive under such conditions. Like their reproduction rate is very, very high at that period. And the moment it happens, the numbers will be very high. The numbers will be very high. And our crop production in the field is affected. So our crops are more infested with pests and more infested with diseases. And one last thing that I think is an impact, like comes as a result of the disasters, we have environmental degradation. The moment floods are occurring, we tend to have runoff happening. Water washes away our soil. We have soil erosion happening. And when the soil erosion happens, our soils can't be used again for agricultural production. Now we have to go to this other process of trying to recover back our soils and conserving it in order for us to do agricultural production, which is a lot. So that is just it about the impacts that disasters might be having on the agriculture industry. And right about now, I want to read for you a very interesting fact, and it is related to whatever we are discussing. So, did you know that snakes tend to migrate in response to drought, and hence there are increased snake bite incidents during the drought season? Snakes tend to migrate in response to droughts, and hence there are increased snake bite incidents during the drought season. Mhm. So imagine hata snakes are migrating because of droughts. Yes, and that's how hard it's going to get. If whatever the Kenya Red Cross Society and the Kenya Meteorological Department has said happens. You are watching The Breakfast Show, and I am your host, Len Thomas. And we have been talking about disasters in agriculture. We have looked at what disasters in agriculture are. We have covered what are the impacts of these disasters in agriculture. We will be looking at what can we do? What can we do when we have these disasters happening? What are the solutions that we can be looking into in case of these disasters happening? Kindly keep sending me your feedback. R- On Facebook, we are at A Farmers. On YouTube, we are at A Farmers Media. So keep sending me your feedback on the comment section. I'll be sampling that when we come back after the break. And again, in this last bit of the show, I'll be doing for you the weather updates. Now that we are talking about the predictions that we are having about the weather, I'll be doing for you the weather updates so that you can be on the know where you stand, what's happening, what's not happening. And I'll be introducing you to something fantastic that is really helpful, especially if you are a farmer. So make sure you are staying tuned in for that. And you know what else is coming on the other part of the show? We have my inspiration coming in at the end of the show. So we're going to take a short break. We'll be back in a few, but make sure you are staying tuned in for all we have that is coming up.
Celery is a marshland plant that comes from the same family as carrots and parsley. It has long, firm and pale green fibrous stalks and grows in bunches of approximately 8 to 10 centimeters. The stalks taper into leaves at the top. When planting celery, it's best to ensure that the soil is enriched with compost and with a soil pH of between 5.8 to 6.8. It is also important for celery to grow in moisture-retentive soil. Lastly but not the least, select a site that receives full and direct sunlight. Celery needs about 130 to 140 days to mature between seedling and harvest. Growing celery is generally considered to be an ultimate vegetable gardening challenge. It's easy to grow, but has very specific needs. Melon is a trailing vine in the gourd family. The word melon can refer to either the plant or specifically to the fruit. Watermelon is a type of melon that is sweet and refreshing fruit. Watermelons can either be grown on home gardens for small-scale farmers or large-scale depending on the market demand. You can either transplant or plant watermelon seeds directly. For best performance, plant watermelons in hot, sunny locations with loose, fertile, well-drained soil that is rich in organic matter. It is best to plant watermelons on raised rows and ensure that the soil pH is between 6.0 to 6.8. On average, it takes around 3 months for a watermelon to grow from seed to mature fruit, with smaller varieties having shorter growing times than larger varieties of watermelon. Watermelon growing, if done rationally and on a scalable basis, can be a good source of income.
Mic check. Unanisikia? Is my sound okay?
Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You are on air.
Join me, Conrad Kibe, on the Farm Drive every weekday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media, where we tell you the story of an African farmer. We give you COVID-19 updates, and most interestingly, we give you the pan of the day. Follow us on all our social media platforms at A Farmers with a Z at the end on Facebook, and definitely A Farmers Media on YouTube. See you there. Allah. Allah.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Lilian Thomas, and we've been having a discussion about disasters in agriculture. So, we looked at what disasters are in the first part of the show, and in the second part of the show, we've tried looking at the statistics that we have on disasters in agriculture, and we've looked at the impacts that disasters have in agriculture. And I am glad that you joined me for this discussion. And this last part of our show, we'll be looking at the solutions on what we can do when we have these impacts in agriculture. But tomorrow we'll be looking at the disaster reduction, see how we can prevent that, how we can handle it in a larger way, okay? And we are glad that you are here and you've been giving us your feedback. But you can keep talking to us on Facebook. We are at Our Farmers. On YouTube, we are at Our Farmers Media. Keep sending us your feedback, especially on Facebook on the comment section. I'll be sampling that even as we wrap up the show. I remind you again today, our quote of the day was, the thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. The thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. And again, our question of the day is, what are the impacts of disasters on agriculture? What are the impacts of disasters on agriculture? It is inspirational minded. An inspirational piece will be coming in at the end of the show. So make sure you're staying tuned in for that. But regarding our question of the day, you can keep sending me your feedback. On Facebook, we are at Our Farmers. On YouTube, we are at Our Farmers Media. But right before we get into our discussion, now that we are talking about disasters and everything, the weather, I want to do the weather updates for you people because I got you. And I don't want you guys operating without knowing what is expected in your area or in your region. So I'll start with the Lake Victoria Basin that includes Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, Trans Nzoia, Baringo, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet, Nandi, Nakuru, Narok, Kericho, Bomet, Kakamega, Vihiga, Bungoma, and Busia counties. Today is the 19th, so you are expecting a chance of rains over a few places in the morning, showers and thunderstorms over a few places in the afternoon, and showers over a few places in the nighttime. The maximum temperatures expected are 29 degrees centigrade and 11 degrees centigrade as the minimum temperatures. In the northwest region, which includes Turkana, West Pokot, and Samburu counties, the land of beautiful people, you are expecting sunny intervals in the morning, a chance of showers over a few places in the afternoon, and it will be partly cloudy in the night. Highest temperatures are 30 degrees centigrade, 36 degrees centigrade, while the lowest temperatures are 21 degrees centigrade. And then we have the highlands east of the Rift Valley, which includes Nyandarua, Laikipia, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Muranga, Kiambu, Meru, Embu, Tharaka, Nithi, and Nairobi counties. You are expecting a chance of rains over a few places in the morning, showers over a few places in the afternoon, and a chance of showers over a few places in the evening. Highest temperatures 26 degrees centigrade, lowest temperatures 8 degrees centigrade. And then the second last region, the northeast region, which includes Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Isiolo counties. You are expecting rains over a few places in the morning. Um, okay, sorry, little bit. Showers over a few places in the afternoon, and a chance of showers over a few places in the nighttime. Highest temperatures that 6 degrees centigrade, lowest temperatures 17 degrees. And then we have the southeastern lowlands, that is Kitui, Makueni, Machakos, Kajiado, and Taita Taveta counties. You are expecting sunny intervals in the morning, a chance of showers over a few places in the afternoon, and it will be partly cloudy in the night. Highest temperatures 33, lowest 13 degrees. And then the last region is the coastal strip, which includes Mombasa, Tana River, Kilifi, Lamu, and Kwale counties. And you expect a chance of showers over a few places in the morning, a chance of showers over a few places in the noontime, and it will be partly cloudy in the nighttime. Highest temperatures 34 degrees centigrade, 25 degrees centigrade as the lowest temperatures. So those are the weather updates for you to help you keep you in track of your weather and what you expect. And I've told you, the Kenya Red Cross Society is predicting that we might be experiencing floods and droughts in the country in the month of May. But you make sure you're staying tuned right here. We will keep updating you of what is going on concerning the weather. And I want to introduce you to a hack that I find very important. Have you heard of the Plantix app? Yes? No? Okay. So the Plantix app is app that can be downloaded on Google Play Store. You download it on Google Play Store, install it on your phone, and then it helps you, it can deduce the crop pests and diseases on your crops. So this is how you use it. After you've installed it and you have data, so I don't know how I will show you, but after you've installed it and you have data and you have a crop that is infested in your field, you take a photo of the crop after you've logged in into the app. You take a photo of the crop. The app will scan the crop for you. It always does. It will scan the crop for you. So you take a picture, it scans it, it gives you a diagnosis of what is affecting your crop, and then it actually recommends what you can do. It recommends what method of application you can use. And the hack that I was talking about, especially if you don't know about the weather information, Plantix can actually give you weather updates. So for me right now, it's telling me that actually gives you weather forecast. For me, it is giving me today, 19th of April, 20 degrees centigrade. So highest temperatures, it has given me 24.8 degrees centigrade. Lowest temperature, 14.7 degrees centigrade. And then it gives me a prediction of the weather for the next 4 days. So on Tuesday, it tells me I'll be having 26.8 degrees centigrade and it will be cloudy. On Wednesday, I'll be having 26.2 degrees centigrade and it will be having rains. On Thursday, 26.8 and it will be cloudy. Friday, 26.5 and it will be rainy. And then it tells me we will be having light rain today through to Sunday. And then the pro tip, it tells me on Tuesday, we have a very cloudy day. It says Tuesday would be a good day for weeding. That is a hack for you. So if you don't have the Plantix app, make sure that you are downloading it. It gives you weather updates. It helps you diagnose crop pests and diseases, and it helps you actually by giving you the remedy. So it is a hack for you, especially if you are a farmer and you can't really diagnose the pests and diseases you have on your crops. So, right about now, we are going back into our discussion, the discussion that we've been having on disasters in agriculture. And we might experience a disaster in the next 1 month, less than a month. Yes, it is like less than a month away. The impacts of the disasters we've seen, how it affects the economy, the production cycle, the livelihoods of the people. That's what we discussed before we went on the break. Right now, we want to look what can we do? What can we do when we have these disasters striking? Or in order to get ready for these disasters striking. If you remember, if you've been following me on the Breakfast Show, we did a show on climate smart agriculture. And it was because we said the weather, the climate right now is very unpredictable. It kind of shifts from this place to this other place. We have rains right now, we have droughts the next minute. We have droughts this minute, the next minute it is flooding, and you never know what to do. And then we had climate smart agriculture. We had a discussion on climate smart agriculture. What you have to look at in order for you to practice climate smart agriculture, how do you maneuver around with the weather conditions that we have? First, let me start with the first hack. Be very knowledgeable about the weather patterns. Be very knowledgeable about the weather patterns. I have introduced you to the Plantix apps, okay? If you are in Kenya, the Kenya Meteorological Department keeps giving us weather updates. Be on the know. The Kenya Red Cross has given us a warning. We might have floods, we might have droughts. Be on the know of this information. So keep track of your weather patterns. And if you remember a discussion we had last week on Monday about sustainable agriculture, and Mr. Ila told us something about timing when we are doing agriculture because of the seasons and the weather. If a crop is supposed to be like 90 days for it to grow, you have to time it very well. Monitor your weather patterns. The moment you think the rains are almost coming, start preparing your field. Plant at the correct time. Everything you have to like really monitor whatever you are doing. In climate smart agriculture, also, we realized sometimes you find farmers planting crops that are not suited for their region. Especially now, if we are talking about regions like the northeastern region, Marsabit, Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo, Turkana, Tana River, these people are prone to receiving droughts a lot. A lot. It hasn't happened once, it has happened several times. It is very wise if they know this, and every time they are planting their crops, they actually put that into mind. So, maize wouldn't be the best idea for you. You would rather do a drought tolerant crop, something like millet, sorghum. Um, we have pigeon peas. There are things that we can grow that actually are suited for such conditions. So, whatever we plant is also important. Okay? We bring another aspect of soil management. We know we are going to be like, we expect something like droughts. How are we managing our soils such that by the time these droughts are coming, we still have water in the soil? So we do things like cover crops, help cover the soil, reduce the erosion, reduce evaporation rates from the soil. We mulch our soil. You can be using plants, you can use the plastic mulches that we have, whatever you can afford, whatever works for you, please use it. So we use that, and then it helps you retain the soil moisture in the soil. So just in case of drought, less evaporation is taking place. You also have more water retained in the soil that your plants can be using in order to grow. So that is about soil conservation. Let's talk about water management. We did again. Huh, I actually think our shows are very informative, very informative. I don't know. What are you doing when you are not watching our shows? It's quite a loss for you. It's quite a loss for you because I think we are giving you too much information that is quite helpful to you if you are in the agriculture industry. We did another show on rain-fed agriculture and realized 90%, 95% actually of sub-Sahara Africa relies on rain-fed agriculture. So the moment we don't have rains, we can't produce food. And at some points we have too much rains, yet we let the water go into wastes. But if we harvest the water, make reservoirs, make dams, just try and harvest the water. I saw a technique. It's not a technique. I was looking over the weekend, I was watching a video on agricultural production in Israel. Israel was a desert. That place was a desert. Like that place, you couldn't grow anything. It was a desert. But these people realized they need to do something, they need to produce food. Actually, Israel right now exports most of the fruits that most countries consume. Their grapes, their oranges, good quality, top notch production, okay? And I was looking at the technology they are using. They have underground tanks. Mhm. They've built their tanks underground. They store their water there. So, in spite of the drought and these desert conditions that they have, they can always grow because they have water that they have stored underground. The plants can always use. Water harvesting is very important. And we said if you can do it on your own, can you come around as a group in your area, in your region, pull your resources together, build build a dam, store your water. It will always come in handy whenever you need it. Okay? Tomorrow, because the disasters tend to strike when we are not ready. I said they are sudden. They always strike when we are not ready. Tomorrow, we are going to be looking at disaster reduction. How do we reduce the impact that disasters have on agriculture? We'll be looking at that tomorrow. So, if by any chance you happen to be dealing with such things, disaster reduction, disaster management, can you kindly, again, I ask you, please text us. Please text us on our inbox on Facebook. We are at our farmers. We can incorporate you into the show. Let's try and educate the farmers, give them more knowledge. I might be having the knowledge, but not as sufficient or maybe as good as what extra thing you might let us know. So if you are in disaster management or you are dealing with disaster reduction, or you know someone in FAO who is dealing with this in the Food Agricultural Organization, you can let us know. Let us know. We can reach out to them and see what we can give to our farmers tomorrow. I don't know if there's someone else who's given me feedback. Again, let me just confirm if we have any more feedback, and then I'll sample that as we even wrap up the show, because the show has come to an end and it has been an awesome discussion actually. So let me just confirm. Okay. So currently I can't see any more comments. I can't see any more comments. So we'll just be wrapping it at that point because I don't have any more comments. Yes. But as we wrap up the show, today we've covered something on disasters. Disasters affect agriculture in several ways, and it is quite important that we learn how to handle that. So, tomorrow we are going to be having a discussion on how to reduce the impact of disasters on agriculture. Okay, that is what we will be looking at. Back to where we started from, I'll remind you the quote of the day. The quote of the day today has been: the thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. The thoughts you have in the morning can determine your whole day. And I've said, look at these from an aspect of positivity or negativity. If you have positive thoughts in the morning, you are most likely to be very positive during the day. Like, you like when you are positive, even when you have challenges along the way during the day, you are most likely to tackle them because you are very positive. But you wake up with very negative thoughts in the morning and you remain negative during the day, everything will be going south for you. And that's what happens. Like, we are more of what our thoughts are. So make sure you are having the right thoughts as you wake up each single morning. Be positive. Be positive. It is very important that you are positive, even as we start the week today. Be positive throughout the whole week. So today I told you I'd be giving you a certain inspirational thing. So to our inspiration of today, I'll give you an instance. Take an instance whereby you have a tap. For people who use tap water, you know what a tap is, okay? You have a tap. You see, when you're closing the tap and then you fail to close the tap completely, okay? So you have like a single drop coming out of the tap after like every 15 to 30 seconds, okay? A single drop coming out because you didn't close the tap very well. You decide to put a bucket right there at the tap and go your way. It was a single drop, okay? You didn't close your tap well, so a single drop is coming out of the tap after every 15 to 30 seconds, or maybe after a minute, and you sleep overnight. You wake up the next day and your bucket is half full. Your bucket is half full from a single drop that was coming after every 15 seconds. 15 seconds, a single drop. And then you wake up in the morning, your tap is half full. If you leave it till evening, you go to work, you come back, your bucket is actually completely full. And this is what happens with our life. Every single drop of everything you do, like every single effort, every drop of effort that you keep into whatever you're doing, it actually amounts to a larger part of it after a period of time, at the end of the period. So if my little efforts of acquiring information day in, day out, like today, the way you're listening to me here, you are trying to acquire information. The little information you are gaining today, tomorrow, the other day, it actually amounts to something larger at the end of the day. In our school system, we were being taught small things. Today, Kesho, the other day, and then at the end of the day, you've covered an entire syllabus. It is what we put in into our lives. So just keep on putting the little drops, the single drops, the little drops in everything you're doing. Either it is your work or more so, maybe in your faith, a little prayer each day will take you a long way. You never know. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Every little effort will count at the end of the period. This has been Inspirational Monday, and we are wrapping the show at this juncture. Tomorrow, we are meeting again right here, same place, same time, same place, same time. And I have, before I wrap up, I want to repeat, did you know? Did you know? The did you know that I want to repeat? Actually, for today's show, our did you know was about drought and snakes. Okay? Okay, that's a weird random topic to be talking about drought and snakes. So, trying to find it. I'm trying to find it somewhere. Okay. So, our did you know today is on garlics. Apparently, it is National Garlic Day. I think I wasn't just updated about that. It is National Garlic Day. I didn't know. I know a lot of people love garlic, especially for chefs, and you overuse garlic. Some people overuse garlic in most things that they do. And garlic, did you know? Did you know that garlic is a herb and it is also a spice at the same time? Did you know? No, you didn't? Now you know. Now you know. And did you know that today is National Garlic Day? So you can go ahead and use all the garlic that you want to use for garlic lovers. That says you can go ahead and use all the garlic that you want to use. Garlic is very beneficial to you. It is medicinal. It is a spice in your food. I know people who have colds use it as medicine. So it is quite helpful. And since it is National Garlic Day, get yourself some garlic. Get it in your food. Lunchtime is coming. You have your dinner. Can you just get it, incorporate it in your food? And it is a herb and it is a spice. And that's it for today. Okay. So that is my random. It is a random thing that just came up about right now as we are concluding. But a reminder, our shows run from morning to evening. So we will be having Noana Seli Kadima coming in for the mid-morning show at around 11:30, and then we'll be having Conrad Kibe coming in for the Farm Drive show at 3 p.m. So make sure you're staying tuned in for all of our shows. They are informative, they are educative, and you can keep the conversation going on our Facebook page at Afarmers. On YouTube, we are at Afarmers Media. And if you have any questions, just ask them on our page. If there is anything you'd like us to discuss about, you can as well let us know. We are here for you. That is why we are here. If you guys weren't here, we wouldn't be here. So let us know what you want us to discuss. And I'll also remind you, if you are in disaster management, you deal with anything in disaster reduction, you can kindly hit us on our inbox and try to work out something that we will be covering tomorrow. And we will be more than glad if you do. I'll be here again tomorrow morning at 8:30. So make sure you're staying tuned in for the breakfast show at 8:30. And tomorrow we'll be doing something on disaster reduction. You can keep sending your questions and it will give me insight of what you really want to know. And I'll be doing that for you. So until tomorrow, it is adios from me. Be a fantastic person, do amazing things, and make this world a better place. Bye bye.
Nah. Mic check, mic check. Unanisikia? Is my sound okay?
Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You are on air.
Join me, Conrad Kibe, on the Farm Drive every weekday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. right here on A Farmers Media, where we tell you the story of an African farmer. We give you COVID-19 updates, and most interestingly, we give you the pan of the day. Follow us on all our social media platforms at A Farmers with a Z at the end on Facebook, and definitely A Farmers Media on YouTube. See you there. Allah.
Allah.